Welcome to Rockstar Doctor Life. I'm Melissa Longo. As a chiropractor, I believe we have the profound ability to impact our communities and people's health on a global level, while also enjoying rich and rewarding personal lives and giving attention to the things that matter to us. Each week, you'll hear an inspiring conversation to give you ideas and insights to rock your practice, pursue your passions, find more connection and meaning in your life, and create a life and business that works for you. Hey there, listeners. I am really excited and also a little nervous today because I've been able to connect with Dr. David Jackson here as our guest today. And he's certainly someone who has influenced my life in a lot of ways, in some direct ways when I've done some programs with him and heard him speak, and other indirect ways when I just watched some of the message that he shared with, Facebook posts and webinars I've been on and seeing some of his clients and how their lives are thriving. So I'm really a little nervous and I'm excited. So we're going to just jump right into this here. Dr. David, welcome to the show.
You know what? I don't want to say I'm nervous. I'm just excited. I'm maybe nervous for what I might say, but I'll be careful. I won't be too careful. I'm really thrilled to share with you and to share with chiropractors and to see if we can't break some people out of their comfort zone so they can grow a little bit more.
Yeah, now that is something that I definitely want to talk to you about, because you work with so many different clients and some of the things we even talked about in the pre-chat. Getting outside your comfort zone, really finding a life that resonates with who you are as a human being. But before we dig into some of that stuff, maybe you can just give everyone a snapshot of where life is at for you these days with your daughters and Epic, and what's going on with Dr. David's life these days.
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I got asked that question yesterday, and it's interesting when people say, hey, what's new? And people say nothing. I'm like, bull crap. I mean, everything is new, right? It's a new day. So what's up with me? You know what? I'm loving life, man. I mean, I took on a hard, easy philosophy about my life many, many years ago, over 20 years ago. Decided to tackle the things that most people were afraid of up front, and with really just kind of unbridled hope and a few crossed fingers, toes, and some prayers that it would work. And damn it, wouldn't you know it? It works really well. My life is not perfect, but it's damn close, man. I mean, I'm in a rock and roll epic love affair with my woman, my wife of 28 years, Nicole. I've got 3 beautiful daughters. In fact, my 21-year-old literally in 50 minutes is heading out on a 6-month adventure around the country and the world. And, they just have become amazing human beings. I'm wealthy beyond anything I ever imagined financially. And I'm successful because I'm living what I chose to live. And to me, that's just a very simplistic definition of what success is. I'm living the life that I want to live, not what someone else wants me to. Helping a lot of people, creating massive impact, which is my cause, and all the rest of it's just an effect. And as a chiropractor, I wish we knew that better. It's ironic how many people chase effects when we're a causal profession. I focus on cause, and I just know the effect's going to be there. So the effect, Melissa, right now is life is epic. Life is good.
Yeah, no, you already answered so many questions I wanted to ask you. The first one, being how do you define success for yourself? But I feel like you just articulated that really well.
I'm, if anything, the word simpleton is not the right word, but I'm a simple person. I don't like complication. I've always been a reductionist. I like to take things apart, put them back together, and have parts left over. It's just what I do. From practice to business to relationships to parenting to my health and fitness to my spirituality, my financial life, everything. I just think we complicate the crap out of things, and we don't need to. And so, my definition of success is really simply living a life that I purposefully design the best that I possibly can. And that's where I'm at. That's what I hope for everyone to do. The challenge, though, of course, is that's hard. Go back to the hard, easy approach. It's really easy to live a life based upon someone else's kind of ideas and protocols and whether it's your mom or your dad or your colleagues or your coach or your friends, mentors, whoever it is. And there's no shortage of people telling us what we should do. But man, it's a tough question to ask yourself what you really want to do, right? Because then you got to deal with all the demons and shackles and limited beliefs and all that stuff that is a lot harder to deal with than just saying, yeah, that'll do. That's good. I'm meant to be comfortable. I am completely averse to mediocrity. Like I don't loathe very much. I loathe mediocrity, myself and anyone. I don't think that's what we're here for. So I run away from that as fast as I possibly can, as often as possible.
Yeah, like it is such a hard thing to ask people, right? Like, who are you? What do you want? However, when you're working with clients within Epic, how do you start to get people to figure that out? I mean, it's a heavy question I get, but if there was one thing that you could say to people, hey, this is how you got to figure out what you want out of your life, what would that be?
Yeah. Well, you know what? It used to be a heavy question. It's actually so obvious to me now, and I really try to dedicate my life to making it obvious to others. And it came from a parenting philosophy. Again, I got three daughters, 21, 22, 25. And so at one time they were all adolescents, and then they were all teenage girls. And you're talking to a guy that had two brothers, I was all boys, and now I'm at all girls. And like, holy crap, what did I do wrong? Turns out, what did I do right? Because it's been an amazing, amazing journey. But with our kids, we would let them struggle. I didn't fix things for them because I knew the world wouldn't do that. My wife and I, made these agreements early on. And again, certainly not perfect parents, but we did a good job. We worked really hard, and we still do. And one of the most common lines that I've used, and I still use, is once they get to a point and I see the frustration and I see the disappointment, I just look at them with an open heart and open mind and no judgment. I'd say, how's that working for you? And usually they'll go, not that well. And when I talk to a chiropractor, and I just say, well, look, just cut the crap. We're not at a seminar. You don't have to tell me it's the best day in the world to be a chiropractor. You don't have to tell me everything's great. And if I was any better, I'd be illegal. Just tell me the truth. How's it working for you? And the fact of the matter is, most of them kind of do this little, it's okay. And that's actually like a patient saying their headaches aren't that bad. It's not okay. They're just telling me it's okay. If I poke a little bit and I ask them why 3, 5, 7 times, most of them are going to get down to, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I thought was going to happen. This is not where I thought I was going to be. It's harder. They've lowered the bar. They've lowered their standards. They've surrounded themselves with people that have already lowered the bar and their standards, so they feel more comfortable around people, so they belong better because they just want to belong. They just wanted to be happy and joyful and successful in their own view. So really where you start is with the end, right? You start at the result. And if you don't like the result you have, I don't care if it's in your fitness or your how many, commas you have in your bank account. I don't care if it's your new patients or your retention or your team or your ability to communicate or inability to communicate, whatever it is. If you don't like the result, that's where you start, because there's a cause of that result. And we all know what it is. It's either something we are doing or not doing. And Melissa, you've been around long enough and have heard me say this for probably 20 years that I've been saying it, is that that's the problem in my mind, is that everyone, well, not everyone, the very few people that actually will look without judgment at their own life and just hammer a stake in the ground and say, this is what it is. My practice is here. My life is here. My relationships are here. Because we want to judge everything immediately. Don't just put it all in the bucket, write it all on a piece of paper. These are the big rocks, the results in my life. Why? Well, kind of go up to the triangle, the top. If you're making a triangle, that would be the bottom right-hand corner. Go up to the top, and it would be, well, what are you doing or not doing? Because it's a law of effect, right? You take actions or you don't take actions, and you get results or don't get results. So then you say, well, what do I do? Well, I ignore this, and maybe I don't do it hard, easy. Maybe I accept patients for what they want and then think I can convert them magically to what they need later. Maybe I take all my insurance and I hate it, but I really want to go cash, and I'll try to convert them later. Maybe my spouse and I are arguing, and there's a real problem, but we just dance around it and pretend like it's not there, and we turn on the TV instead of going at it and talking it down. Maybe we're having a relationship or a challenge with one of our kids, and we're just hoping it will go away instead of facing it and going through the brutal struggle that's sometimes necessary. Whatever we are doing or not doing, the actions we are taking or not taking, that's so important, Melissa, but that's not causal. That is still effect. And that has been my message, I guess one of my predominant messages, because it's hard. That is every action that we take or do not take has a cause as well. And it's what we believe. It's our thoughts that create our belief systems. And the real hero, the person that really puts their life together and looks back on it and goes, damn, this is so much I'm so grateful, I'm so blessed, I'm so fortunate, is someone that really digs into why they do or do not take actions, because it's based upon our beliefs. We do things, we are compelled to act because of our core belief systems, our core values, that, by the way, most of us just kind of bought them without looking at them. We didn't read the label, we didn't read the terms of acceptance. We bought them from our parents and our teachers and our preachers and our, everybody. And it's tough, man. It's tough to go through those one at a time. But that little triangle of belief and behaviors or actions and results is, to me, it's the thing that saved my life when I was a young chiropractor. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah, I was wanting to ask you that. So it's, when you were in practice and you struggled in practice, what was the thing, you talk about you discovered a truth, within you that really shifted the game, and again, is this what you're talking about? If you could distill it down for doctors listening, like what was the big game changer for you when you were in practice that totally changed, your practice life?
Yeah, I've spent so many years really studying what it was, because at first I didn't really go back and look at what happened. I was just grateful that I was moving forward instead of backward. So it's interesting, you never know who's listening to your podcast, right, Dr. Melissa? And it might be someone in chiropractic school. It might not be a chiropractor. People listen to things and they're positive and they're energetic and they love it. It might be a startup. It might be someone that's just kind of stuck. It might be someone that's kicking butt and just wants more. And but I got to tell you, when I graduated all the way back in 1987, I just wanted to help people make a good living. And 2.5 years later, I won't go into the depths of the story, but 2.5 years later, I had failed 9 times. And I don't mean like it was hard 9 times. I went out of business on 9 different occasions. I don't know, man. I'm a pretty resilient person, but I found the end of my resistance and my resilience. I tore down my $128,000 of student loans diploma. I literally ripped it up and burnt it in a garbage can and became an auto mechanic. So I quit chiropractic. So it wasn't like, oh, what did you do to become successful in practice? It was like, how did I pull? I was Phoenix Rising, man. I literally burnt my past because I hated chiropractic. I couldn't make it work. I tried everything. I listened to every coach. I spent money I had to borrow from my mother because I was broke for 2.5 years after school. And, I did all the scripts. I did what they told me to, and it freaking didn't work. So then I started building resentment, and I almost got to hatred, which is why I quit, because I don't hate. I started hating others. I started hating the profession. I started hating myself. And so I quit and became an auto mechanic. And fortunately, I'll make a long story short, there was one chiropractor that I met, because I didn't like any chiropractors, that was just unique. And I consider him a guide, right? And most guides, it's funny how chiropractors, we think we're the heroes. The patients are the heroes. They're the ones with all the goods, right? They're the ones with 100% potential. They're the ones with the innate drive to always be better. We just have the fortune, the blessing to unlock that rivulet of life and let it flow. They're the heroes. I think as a profession, we can be heroic and act heroic, but they are the heroes. And this guy saw me and basically said, you're the hero, but you just don't know what you want. You've proven 9 times what you don't want. What do you want? And it was really hard for me, Melissa, to go, because I was like, I don't want to be broke anymore. I'm never going to pay back my student loans. I don't want to claim bankruptcy. He's like, quit telling me what you don't want. What do you want? And it was really difficult because at the time I wanted to survive. And he's like, no, way beyond. What do you really want? And I pushed my vision in my envelope as far as I could. And I think back, and I can't say it without laughing, because I wanted to make like 50 grand a year, and I just wanted to be able to buy food and do all that stuff. And he pushed me as far as I could. But that's as far as I could go in the meantime. But during that process, I started kind of almost childlike dreaming again, like, well, what if? And he just stayed with me and encouraged me for a very short period of time, gave me some advice, read The Bigness of the Fellow Within and get some Sigafus tapes. I didn't even know what a Sigafus tape was. I didn't know it was a person. But I did it because I was desperate. And what I started understanding, Melissa, was that the things that drove my behaviors, way before I identified the triangle and made it into a systematic approach that absolutely works 100% of the time, I was inventing in my garage, if you will, and I started realizing almost subconsciously at first and then forcing it to consciousness that it was my belief systems that were so jacked up. Like, I believed I was supposed to make people feel better. And I know chiropractors are like, a lot of them are going, you are. I'm like, I realized for David Jackson, no, I'm not. That's not, because you're not supposed to feel better unless you're supposed to feel better, right? Like, I was violating the core concepts of what I knew the body was really trying to do, because that's what everyone told me. And I just happened to be a really high integrity, like, personal, like, I couldn't look you in the eye, Melissa, and ask you to even go 6 or 7 visits at the time for a headache, because I didn't really know if your headache was going to go away or not. So I felt like a fraud. So I had to discover all these limited belief systems that everyone seemed to have, but didn't work for me, and then say, how's that working for you? Not working well. Look where you are. You're living in your mother's basement at 27 years old. Well, what belief could you replace that with? And so one by one, thousands, a lot of years, a lot of effort, a lot of work, I started replacing those beliefs. And from that, things started just happening so quickly, to where when I did get back in practice, in 90 days, I was over 100 a day and 100% cash in life. I was like, what the heck? You know, people are like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know, but I do know. That's what happened. I just pushed myself so hard to recreate the way I thought about things, and then my actions followed, and then my results are just effects. I mean, you can bank on those. They're going to happen.
Mm-hmm. And with all the people that you've coached in your programs, would you say that that is still the number one limiting thing for people in their practice? Like, what they struggle with the most? If you were to take a new person coming into your program, what's the first thing they tell you where they're stuck?
Well, the answer is 100% of the time. But about 10% of the time, that's what they think it is, right? So look, a patient comes into us, and let's just say they've got, I don't care what they have. They could have sciatica, a headache, or an autistic son. They come in and they believe they know what the problem is. They know what they want, right? And what they want is to feel better yesterday and have someone else pay for it. I mean, that's what they want. I know what they need. They need to function better for the rest of their life and take responsibility for that. So we've got a major gap, don't we? We've got a huge gap. And the problem is, chiropractors have never been trained on the art of communication, on how to close the gap. So what we do is we bait and switch. We talk about their symptoms. We talk about that they want to feel better. We say we can do it yesterday, and you don't have to pay because insurance will take it. And then we hope and cross our fingers that they're going to get something along the line. And the fact of the matter is, look, again, the results speak loudly. 12 PVA, national average 12, 15, whoever you're talking to, they're not getting it. You know, what they get is either better results or no results, and they leave. And that's just the way it is across the profession. And it's that same gap that chiropractors have to look at, because they come to me and they think they want what they need is, you know, they think it's new patients, or it's retention, or it's systems, or it's a team, or it's, you know, care plans. And I'm not suggesting those aren't all part and parcel of it, but when I that's what they want. What they need is the kind of a system within themselves that produces those things. And that's not to say when you get to the top of the triangle, you don't take action. You take epic people take massive action, but it's got to be congruent with what you believe. So that the want versus the need with chiropractors is they're just like a patient, right? It's because we're all humans. Mm-hmm. What we want is really not what we need. And unfortunately, there's too many people in this profession and in every profession and in too many drive-through windows throughout North America that are going to give you what you want. And what most people want is to supersize and get a big-ass 84-ounce Coca-Cola and call it a day, right? And when you give people what they want, it makes them dumb, fat, and lazy. It just does. And I don't do that with chiropractors. I tell them the truth, and the truth will do every single time.
Well, and I love what you said in our pre-chat about you consider yourself more of a life architect than a coach. Do you want to elaborate on that for our listeners since they didn't hear the pre-chat?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I haven't found a better word.
I think it's a good word. I think it works.
People call me coach, and I'm like, ooh, no. Why? Because it's almost like, unfortunately, like the word chiropractor sometimes. You tell someone, they go, oh, right? Like they know what that is. No, they don't. But, you know, one of my core principles is when we do not define ourselves, they will define us for us, right? So the world has defined chiropractic for us because we have not had a loud enough voice to do so. And in most businesses, including chiropractic businesses, we don't define ourselves, so they define us. And a perfect example is one of the exercises I get every new member is, what is your day one dinner time conversation? Of course, they say, what is that? I say, well, Melissa, you come into the office, or a patient comes into your office today. Let's say she's another female and she's a 32-year-old, has a 2-year-old son, and she's married. She gets home. Everyone's there. Her husband's home. They're having dinner together. And he goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe I spaced this. How to go with the chiropractor today? What do they say? And when most people goes, I don't know. I go, okay, what do you think they say? And they always say, well, they were really nice, right? Because you hear all that, like, everyone just wants to be loved and accepted, which, join the club. We're humans. We all do. But what if you actually could create that conversation? What if you actually consciously designed what you want the patient to say to her spouse at the time of dinner? What would you want them to say? Write that script. How does that movie play out? It starts with, oh my gosh, I have never, ever been anywhere like this before. First, they already knew what was wrong with me. They did it because they did their homework and da-da-da. Then they didn't just tell me stuff. They asked me questions I've never thought of before. And then they used this technology on my nervous system, and they said that my body's not healing the way it should. That's the real problem. And they didn't want to just give me another Band-Aid with stickier adhesive, because this person's been through other doctors and therapists and massage therapists and chiropractors and taking drugs and all this stuff. And everybody typically just gives them the same thing, and they didn't want to do that. So they craft this story. And that's part of what I mean by being an architect. It's really, look, it's easy hard for and I'm using you can't see them, I'm using my finger quotes, my air quotes. It's really hard for a chiropractic coach, or even worse, I don't like this term, management company or whatever it is, it's so easy for me to put everything I know into a manual and ship you a big box of stuff. And you're just like a kid at Christmas, man. You're like, this is the best investment I've ever made. I'm learning so much. This is awesome. And you recite the script and you do really well. And people say yes. And you're like, this is the best decision I ever made. And traditionally, historically, for about 85% of the people that love the box, within about 6 to 8 weeks, they want to burn the box. And the reason is it's not them. The energy carries it in the beginning. But what they're doing is they moved into a house. They're using a script and a concept and a system that wasn't made by them for them, and it doesn't fit. So it's irritating, and it hurts like a bad pair of shoes that you're borrowing from somebody else. And the more you walk in them, they might feel a little tight at first, but you're going to get used to it. Don't worry. And eventually, they completely explode at the bottom. The whole thing goes off. They're stuck in a freaking contract, and now they're miserable and they hate coaches, which is that definition, right?
Yeah.
So I'm more of a life architect because, number one, and I'm going to say this with rhetoric, I don't really give a damn about your practice. I care everything about your life, and your life is comprised of your practice. So of course I care about your practice, but that's an effect as much as it is anything else. I want to know what you want out of your life, because what I don't want you to do is say, gosh, Dr. Melissa's amazing. I want a life just like hers. You can be inspired by that and motivated by that and follow that, but don't try to become a little David or a little Melissa or a little anyone else. The real role of a designer, of an architect, is for you to come to me with a napkin that you sketched out some idea that you think would be really cool, but you have no idea how to create it. And I say, wow, that's a fantastic idea. And then I start asking you questions. I'm like, well, so when you lay down at night, because you want your master bedrooms here, and you lay down at night with that view, you were talking about this window here, but what if we made the window floor to ceiling? So as you're even laying in bed, you still have that view. And they're like, oh, that's great. Just the little things that start creating a design process, so you actually have your own blueprint to your own house that you built that works for you. And Melissa, you're living that right now. And the reason that in our Epic community, 60% of our members are female is because we're one of the only groups out there that really respects the fact that you've got a whole different set of opportunities. See, most people are going to say challenge. You've got a whole different set of opportunities to be the super mom, to be an amazing spouse if you're married, to be a fantastic, successful chiropractor, And everyone else tries to fit you into a traditional, who said 3-2-1, by the way? Who was that? Who said you're supposed to put people on a care plan that's 3-2-1? That was an insurance company, by the way, to make them happy. Who said that you're supposed to be open Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to, we just buy all that stuff and we don't design it ourselves. And when you do, I got to tell you, I'm sitting in my home office right now of a home that my wife and I designed specifically 100% for how we live. And every single person that comes here is like, oh my gosh. You know why? The building's not the hard part. It's the creative design that's the tough part. That's your mindset. That's all of the things that go into. That's why the first thing we always dig into, Melissa, is not the power of positive thinking, but the power of creation through making sure that your mindset is aligned and your truth is your truth. And then we tell you how to communicate it and market it and put it into care plans and all that good stuff, the actions that you have to take. But you got to design it first, man.
Well, and I think we were talking about this earlier as well, is that there are lots of options for chiropractors now. It's not just you have to be in private practice. And, something that, as you said, women are often looking for different options, but I'm observing that more with a lot of men too. I mean, there's some people that really prefer to just walk in, show up, adjust, and not have to deal with any of the logistics of running and managing a business. So for those people, an associate agreement is going to be amazing for them. I think it comes down to looking at different ways of practicing these days too, and aligning that, like you said, with the kind of lifestyle that you want and your own personal skills and doing more of what you love. That's kind of what I say to people all the time. How can you do more of what you love and less of what you really hate? Because if you can delegate and find other people to do some of those things, your level of joy is going to go up. And if you're happier, you're going to be different in practice. You're going to be rocking it in practice in a different way. And I like what you said too about the coaches. The word coach too. If you're a man, you can relate to that. And don't get me wrong, a lot of women have had coaches, but there just seems to be another connotation with that word that I also don't really like. I think of it as, our job is when we work with people, whether they're in your practice or people that we mentor, is how do you bring out the best? How do you help them figure out what life should look like for them rather than stuffing it down their throat and telling you this is what your life should look like?
Yeah, that's such an ego trip. I mean, how do I know unless you tell me? And that's, it's why vision is important to share and goals are important to, get on top of together and make sure that whoever is your guide, call him or her, whatever you want. I let the Epic community be the biggest guide because we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of docs all over the country, all over the world that actually support one another. And I love looking at a male or a female say, what do you want? Well, I want to see about 200 a week, but I really am struggling because I want to be home with my kids. And I'm like, well, do you want to see it on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, or Tuesday after? What do you want to? They're like, and I'm like, what? I'm not joking. Like, see 200 people on a Monday and then go home until next Monday. There are, like you said, plenty of people that want to see a couple more hundred during the week if that's their thing. If you want to see 50 a week, do you need to work 5 days a week? I mean, there's so many options. And I'm super proud of a buddy of mine, Jake Renacher, who's part of our Epic team because he's reinvented the whole associate model too. I mean, he's got associates that are building custom homes. They're making a lot of money. We're not eating our young. We're not, having indentured servants. And we had a large group of associates within Epic create their own community within Epic because they want to go out and start speaking and talk about how badass it is to be an associate. It's completely shifting the design, architecture, and belief of what being an associate even means because it used to be, there was one connotation, and I'm seeing a massive shift in that, which I think is so cool because, for a profession that professes connection, we couldn't be more disconnected. And it's so heartening to see people beginning to connect, right? To be unique, to be individuals, but connect on things that are bigger than ourselves.
What keeps you so fired up? Because, anyone who's listening can hear this. If they've heard you speak or seen you do things, you're always, passionate, inspired. And, what keeps you so inspired these days to keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah, I think about that a lot. And sometimes it's hard for me. I just don't understand. And it's not, I guess I shouldn't say that. I was going to say, I just don't understand there's no other way. It's not natural for me because I wasn't like this half of my life. I could give you the trite answer, which is, well, you just have to be on purpose. But purpose, you do need to clarify your purpose. There's no doubt. I think here's what I think it is. It's a formula, and I'll share it real quickly. You've got to have a purpose that propels you. The purpose of a purpose is to push you when things get hard, right? It's not to make you glide through the normal stuff. It's to, when you see that mountain, you're like, oh crap. If you're driven by pain or pleasure, you're just going to stop or go around or find an easier way. But purpose, that's when it's there for. It's to push you through. The other side of that is vision. And vision is the most misunderstood thing in business and goals and entrepreneurs and chiropractors, because when I ask people what they want, what's your vision? They always share goals. Those are two different things. A vision is something that always expands and you should never reach because it always gets bigger and it always moves. The challenge, Melissa, and for all of you listening, is that the purpose that pushes and the vision that pulls, when you synchronize them and get them in a line, now you've got an arrow. Now you don't have this zigzag, curved, wobbly thing that is not congruent. And in between this purpose that pushes and the vision that pulls, that's where your goals are. And those are the confidence boosters. Those are the I'm making progress. I'm making progress. Because your vision's always going to move. And if you just keep looking ahead, you're going to be like, damn, I've been chasing this thing for 20 years and I'm not there yet. That's the process. It's the pursuit of a vision that fulfills a life. And to me, that's maybe the single most important thing I've said on this podcast. To me, it's the pursuit of the vision that creates fulfillment and joy in your life. It's not the accomplishment of the vision or the goals. It's when you pursued your goal, did you become a better human being? How do you love the pursuit instead of just live for the goal? Because if you live for the goal, you'll be like me 20 years ago and you go, awesome, great, cheap, toast, what's next? And it's emptiness. And then all of a sudden you got all the cars and the house and the spouse and the kids and you're like, oh, that's not what I thought. That's when you're just frustrated because I'm like, this isn't it. You see it everywhere. So it's the purpose, it's the pushes, it's the vision that pulls, it's the goals that confirm. And then I think most importantly, if you drew a picture of that arrow, on top of it and beneath it are the guardrails, and those are your values. And you've got to lay out your values. And I don't mean just taking the lazy way out and saying God, family, and country, right? I mean, really, what do you absolutely value? Because when you are driven by a real purpose and you've got a vision, now I'm going to tell you this, I'll say it I'll try to keep the language a little bit clean.
You can swear, I'm not offended.
Shit out of you, right? Your vision should scare the shit out of you. You should be like, fudge, what kind of man or woman do I have to become to even pretend like I'm going after that, right? I mean, look, I'll share one last thing. This might sound really odd, maybe I shouldn't. At some point every day, my wife didn't even know I did this for almost 15 years. I look in the mirror and I stare at my eyes, not at myself. I just stare at my eyes. I get about 10 inches away from the mirror and I look at it and kind of with like anger almost. I say, Jackson, and I say F, but who
you
the
can
hell?
swear, I'm not offended.
Yeah, I'll keep it clean. I'll say, who the F do you think you are? And then I answer it. I'll say, I'll tell you who I am. I'm David Jackson. And it's my affirmation because the world's going to ask me if I'm chasing that vision, they're going to be like, who do you think you are? Do you think you can change chiropractic? And I'll tell you who I am because I can change a chiropractor, which will change chiropractic. Who am I to think that I can help this person or all these people? I'll tell you exactly who I am. I couldn't tell you that a long time ago, but I can tell you now because I stand in that with that purpose and that vision and those goals and the values so that when I'm racing around the track, because I've got this big purpose and big vision, the values become my guardrail so I don't go off the track and I don't get killed. I might get hurt, might have to go to the body shop, do a little repair. But 3 times in my career, I didn't have my values in place, even though they're the most important thing in the world. Look, when I was president of Chiropractic Leadership Alliance with Practic and Tempo, I was doing 250,000 miles a year in an airplane, traveling every weekend, speaking on platforms for free, every weekend, just serving chiropractic. And I woke up in a Holiday Inn one morning and I was like, what the hell are you doing, David? You're good at it. I love it. I'm making impact. It's great. And my wife, who I care about more than anyone in the world, and my 3 daughters are sitting at home. And if this was a temporary weekend excursion or a 6, whatever, but there's no end in sight. I'm really good at this. I'm passionate about it. I'm confident. I'm helping people. I resigned. I literally went home that day and said, my values are taking charge. I'm going to figure out a way. And by the way, that's how I created Epic Practice. I went home and was like, there's got to be a better way. So I was the first one in the profession to do a podcast, and the first one in the profession to ever do videos, the first one in the profession to ever have a membership site and to do online training and to master that process. And, I've been doing it. Funny that as we're recording this, it's 10 years this month that I did that. And it was based upon being selfish, right? Fulfilling my values first so I can give to others.
And also getting clear on what you wanted for yourself, right? Which is what we've talked about so much at this point on the conversation, So what, if you were to say today, you've talked at length about the importance of a vision that propels you. What's Dr. David's vision right now?
My vision is just recently got a major boost because I joined a mastermind. And I've been in many, many, many masterminds. I joined a non-chiropractic mastermind, and we meet 3 times a year. There's 10 of us, and we meet for 2 days. There's no Facebook group. There's no phone calls in between, and it's a $40,000 cash upfront investment. So I wanted to play with big boys and big girls to see how far I could expand my vision. And I'm talking about my personal vision for my relationship, my vision for my financial life, my vision for my clients and my company, my vision for chiropractic. But Melissa, it's ultimately driven by my vision for the world. And I'm not going to, get into kumbaya at this point, but I love chiropractors, but the only reason I work with chiropractors is so I can help more people, right? I would go direct to consumer if I could skip the chiropractor, right? But the chiropractor is the vector. We are the tools. We are the people that I know we can change the course of humanity, not in some magic woo-woo spiritual way, but by allowing people to be just one step closer to their own potential by removing that which interferes with it. And when I can take a chiropractor who is struggling with new patients and struggling with a retention of 20 and struggling with a low OVA, and they've just accommodated to saying, oh, life is good and I know I can make it epic. My vision just gets bigger and bigger and bigger of what that looks like and what the world looks like and what, I know what happens to a family, not just the individual, not just when the mom doesn't have her migraines anymore or when the son doesn't have his ADHD anymore, but what happens to the siblings and what happens to the relationship of the mom and dad. I say this all the time, you got a simple ear infection that comes in, but what you don't realize because we don't ask the questions is that ear infection that's been chronic has caused dad to go sleep in the guest room for a couple of weeks because he's got a lot of stress at work. And 6 to 8 weeks later, this family, which already had some stress, is stressed to the point now they're not really talking anymore. They're watching separate TV shows at night. And 8 months down the road, they're talking about, separating, and then they get divorced, and then it affects their kids. I mean, I go all the way down the rabbit hole because that's my vision. I see that. And then I reverse engineer it and say, so by correcting the subluxation, by moving this person toward a better adaptability and more potential, I'm not treating anything, but I'm caring for everything, including the freaking relationships and the siblings and how they're going to do in school and how that affects bullying. I mean, it's weird. I get that people are like, dude, man, that's off the hook. It is. But I got to see it, man. I got to see all the curves. And so my vision is so clear on what this profession has the ability to do. But I got to be honest, man, we got to just embrace our truth. And if the truth hurts, it's supposed to. And if it sets you free, it's supposed to. The truth is the truth, but it depends on where you stand. And you have to look at it and say, how much of my truth am I really expressing in my day one, day twos, and all the things that I say to my team and my fee schedules and my care plans and all the details that you call a business. Those are really your ability to express your value and your own truth. And helping chiropractors take that from where it is to where they really can take it is the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
You've given me chills just thinking about it. I'm thinking how blessed I am to have these awesome conversations with incredible human beings, and then everyone else gets to listen to them at some point, because I know that's going to hit a lot of people. And gosh, there's so many things I'd love to still ask you. However, I want to respect your time. And so let's just wrap up with, If there was one thing you wanted all chiropractors to know, what would you summarize that to be? I know, it's an easy one to finish off with here. We've talked about...
I think I would go back. If there was one thing I'd want them to know, it would be that regardless of where they came from, what school, what technique, what philosophy, I don't buy into, but whatever, the straight or the mixed, I don't care if you're crooked or bent or whatever you are, wherever you are, what you want is to really not be there anymore. Even if you're comfortable, even if you're successful, whether you're struggling, comfortable, successful, you want to move forward. And the way we move forward is by hammering a stake, putting a date on a stick, hammering it to the ground. So this is what it is today, not judging it anymore, and then aligning yourself with a community of like-minded people like I have with this mastermind group that pull you and surround you with bigness, right? With visions and ideas and audacity and actions that make you go, holy crap, I'm playing small, because the world needs us. If there was one tattoo I'd get, which I don't have one, it would be WAS, what's at stake. And I don't mean just what's at stake in your community for the family of that little girl that, has an ear infection and is going to go to the pediatrician and get, amoxicillin and have an anaphylactic reaction and could die. Or any basic person with low back pain, sciatica. I'm talking about what's at stake for them and your community, but what's at stake for you and your family, man. I want for my family, I want to provide opportunities. I want to travel the world and show them that, this beach town I live in, Del Mar, California, is not their world. And thankfully, I've been able to take my 3 girls around the world. We spend 12 weeks traveling on average per year. Even in active practice, I was doing that. And that's, it's all based upon understanding that you are where you are. And it's your objective and responsibility to move away from it. So surround yourself with people that are going to pull you there.
And speaking of people who can help pull you there, what does Epic have coming up? Anything that you want to talk about? Obviously, there'll be links, listeners, to Dr. Jackson and everything Epic in the show notes, so you can just click those and find out more. But anything that you guys have coming up that you want to talk about?
You know what we always have? I mean, we are a very, very engaged. Look, I can give you the best content in the world, the best strategies, because the cool thing is Epic is not David Jackson. It's David Jackson. It's Tony Evil, as the most successful pediatric practice in the world in my mind. It's Christy Wick, who you've interviewed, who's a phenomenal mindset and team trainer. It's Jake Granacher, who's like a systems expert. It's Dr. Jeff May, who's a branding and market expert, and Dr. Jeffrey Stamp, who's a double PhD in invent to bake lays, and he's your metrics, numbers, and business guy. We have a team, so we're always training. We train every single week. We do have one big event called Epic Impact in October, and I guess the cool thing about that is that it is this year. It's our 10th year, which is really, really cool. It's October 19th and 20th. It's an event that we put on that is just like no other event in chiropractic. We always sell it out. We get about 600-700 chiropractors there in San Diego on a 44-acre island resort. It's really cool. It's a great time. But anyone can go to myepicpractice.com and just start stalking us, or go to our Facebook page and watch what we do. We're doing some big stuff.
Big stuff indeed. And I'm, again, honored and thankful that you took some time out of your life today to share with me and all of our listeners. And thank you for all that you're doing for chiropractors and for chiropractic.
My pleasure. Thank you for what you're doing, for the opportunity. I'm always humbled and excited to provide whatever I can.
Thanks for being here today. If you like this show, please share it with another chiropractor and connect them with this message. We are always better off together than we are alone. If you haven't yet subscribed, head on over to Apple Podcasts or iTunes, and don't forget to rate and review the show while you're there. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram and Facebook, and find out more about today's guests and all things Rockstar Doctor Life by clicking in those show notes. See you next time.